let's get started today. A little segment called Turn to Your Neighbor. There we go. I love how everybody turned. That was
I like it now. We're church.
I think we're gonna start the conversation today just talking about how you all are whole, WHOLE, and holy. Like, how do you live a whole and holy lifestyle? Anybody can answer. It's definitely just a conversation.
It's a tough question. I think that's why.
It's a lot of dynamics to it.
You know, I think we're probably all a little stuck because I think it's something that you just have to work out. And I don't know that it's something you ever arrive to. You just like, oh, that worked. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, we got that. Oh, we didn't get that. I think one thing is maybe not taking yourself too seriously. I think sometimes the stigma of church and like Western world Christianity is very serious, very like righteousness is taught very dogmatically. And so it could come off as like living this straight line life. And so I think if you find ways to like still have fun and like be balanced and do things you want to do, but like still do things that are like edifying and like uphold character, I think that starts to kind of help the balance a little bit. Also as Black people to be super serious in a world that we're already like trained and socialized to be serious in because we have to like take into account how we show up in the world. I think for me to be whole and holy is to like manage those tensions and try to find ways to like be fun and have fun. And maybe that just naturally like goes up against, what we would consider holy. But I think that is an act of holiness to kind of be able to live in like the most simplicity of that.
Mm-hmm. And I like what you said about like it being a journey because I think the way you can live a whole life is by embracing those mistakes and embracing the shortfalls. I think that's something that like I've been doing in my journey. It's like didn't do that right, but like being okay with that and like embracing that, so that way I don't reject those parts of myself because I don't think it's holy to live in the shame and to live in the guilt of like not getting things right every time.
Yeah, it's that self-reflection, I guess. And that's kind of the hard part too, because you have to really look at yourself in the mirror and be like, all right, what you did wrong, what you did right, check yourself a little bit, honestly. Yeah.
I think it also changes for like each like stage of life or whatever. So if you asked me this probably when I was 16 or 17 or whatever, it's like you go to church, you kind of folks and you do the Bible study and you're in ministries or whatever. And then I got to college and it was like, oh, I got to go like more in depth to like what I want my relationship to look like with God. Like it can't be a surface level no more because like I'm not a kid no more. I'm an adult and like adulting started adulting real quick for whatever it required of me. So it was like, no, I got to spend time with like God in like my personal life and just figure out what our relationship looks like for me. And I guess what in my own terms come to grips with what is holy and acceptable for me on a daily basis. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I also think that like boundaries as well, like not pretty much putting too much into like what you cannot do, but just kind of like live and do you and still keep like your morals and your beliefs intact. But you can still, be who you are and do what you do. Just keep it together, keep it cute. But yeah.
And I also feel like what's acceptable is so subjective.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, what's acceptable to you? I'm probably like, you tripping, So I don't know. It's just, it's up in the air, honestly.
I think it's like a real conversation about who has framed my standard for holy and acceptable. Like, am I living for God or am I living for people? Because on one end, if I'm living for people, then I'm constantly like changing what I'm doing to make sure that it's comfortable to other people. And then on the other end, like I'm constantly editing myself, trying to make sure that I'm like living up to these standards of people who probably aren't living the way that they're telling me to live first. And secondly, like to people who like they're just not accountable to you in the way that, you may feel accountable to them. They're not going to take the responsibility that they would put on you for that. So, there's like layers, right? Because living for God is not like, what do I want God to look like in my life? And then I tell God how I'm going to live. But I do think that a lot of the standard of acceptable has been people's like wrong interpretation of what they think God would expect or accept.
So maybe living holy is about who are we searching acceptance.
Yeah, yeah,
When you
yeah.
become
I,
holy, it's like, okay, I'm no longer searching for acceptance from friends or from family or even from myself, but it's like really from God.
I mean, if only God is holy, then how is anything else like the standard for holiness or me?
Mm.
For me. I mean, we are made like, right? You know, we're in relationship with Jesus. Like, we're constantly being perfected in our faith. But if the only holy being that is started holy and will forever be holy is God, then I can't take cues from like non-holy. I don't know. That sounds so bad, but you get my point. Like,
No.
that can't be the gauge or the marker or like the standard
Yeah.
exclusively. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Back to the point about people, because
We
we're
think
all
it's
trying to
a
figure out
journey.
what that is. You know?
It's different for everybody.
I think to that point, y'all, there's like a lot, like influencer culture right now. There's like a video everywhere that's like 10 things that you got to do to make sure that you make it to heaven. 5 ways to make sure that when you walk into a church, don't nobody talk about you. Like, what do you really think about like new age influencer culture?
Who are you?
Cut it out.
Cornball.
What are we
Ah,
talking about? Like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, like talk to me a little bit more about like what y'all's experience has been in like interacting with content like that.
I think it's very surface level and like to the point we kind of just talked about. It's really about what they think is comfortable or like acceptable, honestly. And a lot of times it's more personal opinion than actual Bible based or whatever God is actually saying. Right. So every time I see it, I take it with a grain of salt. I'm just like, maybe that works for you, and that's how you want to go. But me having to get up at 6 a.m. every morning to pray because that's how I get my life right with the Lord, and I'm gonna make it to heaven. It's like that's not in no Revelation, no Ephesians or anything. So I'm gonna wake up at 10:30 or whatever time I wake up, but like I'll make sure I spend time with the Lord today. I think you can make it more inclusive when it's saying it's like no, like make sure you spend time with the Lord daily instead of saying like the Lord is up at 6 a.m. You know his children, like
Yeah.
He that keeps his Israel.
yeah, no, for real. And he know all his children ain't no 6 a.m. children. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
it really is about like having the filter through. I think one of the best things Professor told me in college is like eat the meat and spit out the bones type thing. So like what is the actual nourishment that I can get from this, and then like the bones and the other foolishness that I can't swallow, like, all right, I'm gonna just leave that on my plate. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think influencer culture has given people platforms that they otherwise would not have. And so now it's created a following or a point of influence that, I don't know, you don't fold your laundry. Like, why am I listening to you? Now I don't fold my laundry either. But I'm just saying, like by example, like if we really looked at like your credibility, like I don't know that this is your lane for platform. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if there's a way for us to better filter that or for people to better filter that. And I'm not saying that everybody has to meet like certain standards and qualifications or whatever, but I think influencer culture, I think our generation being born in like the 90s, et cetera, this specific group, like we knew a world without this. So we're able to a little bit better like manage it, even though I think it's pretty hard sometimes for me at least. But I look at like the kids that are growing up after us, and this is the world that they live in. And so what does it mean to have a world that has more credibility, but like people don't have like credential with it? You know what I mean? Like they have platform, but like, what are you talking about? And so I think it can just get dangerous. Like that should not be your spiritual food. It cannot be your spiritual food. That's not your pastor. That's not your leader. That's not your personal walk. You know what I mean? Like that just can't be where you're taking your cues from, because it's like propaganda, low key.
Opinion.
High key.
Not that people cannot be used, but like, you know, you just got to
Yeah.
be sparing, I think.
Yeah.
I think people put more weight on also the videos that have like, okay, so if you come across 2 videos, one has 450 views, one has 2 million views,
Yeah.
you're automatically gonna think the one with 2 million is Bible.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
everybody's watching, everybody's
Yeah.
commenting, everybody's loving it. 450 views might be talking about some real stuff, but
Yeah.
you're gonna swipe past it because
They're not getting the
it's
traction.
not getting the reach. So that's also that plays into it too.
For sure.
Yeah. A lot of group think with
Mhm.
social media.
Yeah.
So
What's the craziest thing y'all heard in like a video like that you was like, oh nah?
I don't know if I can say something that stands out, but for me, people's lead up tells me everything I need to know. Like how they start the intro of the video, I'm like, I think I need to scroll. Like, but whether it's just not for me, or I just don't want to digest this, or I don't want to like spend my day thinking about that. So a little bit of context on me. I'm seminary trained, theologically trained, and I'm in ministry, right? So all I do is eat, think, breathe Jesus all day, every day. Lord, you my dog. But it's like, I can't go to social media too. And now I feel like I'm working still, right? So like I'm filtering through stuff because I know that I take that stuff like literally in other ways because that's my work and my personal life, whatever. So sometimes people's lead up like, the Lord did it. And I'm like, I gotta scroll. Or like, stop scrolling. Let me pray for you. Like, gotta scroll. And I'm not coming for people's approaches. I'm not saying people cannot be used by God, but like just some of the maybe more clickbait approaches to like Christian influencing is like enough for me to be like, I'm okay.
The ones with the stop scrolling if you love Jesus. I'd be
Yeah.
like,
God.
no, I'm trying to have a good time. I just want to laugh.
Scroll fast.
I don't want it.
I think the craziest one I saw, and Lord, if she sees this, I'm sorry. But it was this lady, and she had said, God told me you're getting married in the next month.
Girl.
Just a blanketed statement to everyone.
Anybody that watched this video, you're getting married in the next month. And I just, and the comments was like, I receive it. Thank you. Da-da-da-da. And it was like viral and viral. And I just hated the fact that we capitalize off of people's vulnerabilities and insecurities for views.
Mm-hmm.
I-
And repost and likes and clicks. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
repost if you love the Lord. I love the Lord. I don't have to repost it.
Yeah.
They gonna guilt me.
I don't want to repost it.
Yeah.
I love him. He know that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the like question further is, do we culturally, socially, church culture, are we giving people enough in a church context, right? It's more than just the four walls, of course, but in a church context designed to feed people spiritually, are we giving people enough in church to have the spiritual maturity to manage social media following, right? Like, because as I hear that, I'm now I'm firstly checking myself, like, do I have the spiritual maturity to say, that's not what the Lord is saying for me, scroll past? And I'm not saying people who receive it aren't spiritually mature, but it's just like, how do I as the viewer gauge what I receive or not? Because people have their convictions about what they feel like the Lord told them to say or not say. There's a difference between corporate conviction and personal conviction as well. And sometimes people share personal things as if they're corporate and they're not. So I guess the larger conversation is like, what are we doing like theologically and like spiritually, like doctrinally to train people to discern if that is for them or not? Because social media is not going away. And I think it's a viable medium, but like some of it is not on the people putting it out. It's on the receivers to like, is this mine or not?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think to that point, I think we do have to have a conversation about like social media in church in general, or like social media in our world. The same way we've had to address like social media on our jobs and like in schools and things of that nature. I think it is a conversation that needs to be had in the church because it does play a role in people's walks and daily walks of life now. And so I guess just to your point, talking about how to navigate social media and just discern and filter through some of those things, I think those are relevant conversations that we probably need to start having in church, whether it's on a Bible study night or like a random like young adult brunch dinner or something like that, whatever it is, but just showing people how to discern and navigate it because social media is an active part of everybody's daily life now, whether you want it to be or not.
Yeah.
And I say that even for like my father who is like very like anti-social media, but at some point you still have to interact with social media and look at it, scroll through it, or somebody share something with you, etc.
Right, click the link.
Yeah. Click
Yeah,
the
click
link,
the link,
like,
right.
something. So
you don't
yeah.
have the app. You got to click
We
that
do
link.
have to have those conversations now just about how to navigate that. And to your point too, like it is sensible because those type of people prey on people who actually have a yearning for God and like a very in-depth relationship with him and want to really walk this path and purpose, and y'all prey on those people because they're swimming. It's like, well, let me sink and line you in, reel you in real quick or whatever. And it's like, nah, don't do them like that, bro.
And the algorithm does too.
Yes,
It
absolutely
like
does.
one marriage couple.
They're all now all of them. They are.
And I'm like, God's really telling me I'm gonna get married. And it's like, no, boo boo, that's the outfit.
And the marriage post was a comedy sketch. It wasn't really about marriage. But now you telling me I'm getting
for
married.
one follower, but we posted it corporately, and not everyone receives it, and it's not for them.
Yeah.
Like if you think about it in a church context, sermons happen live, right? That sermon should be, if it's spirit led, should be for that house, for that day, for that occasion. After that moment, it fell on that, like those hearts, and that's it, right? Of course, we can stream and people can watch it back, but what the benefit of that is that it was for that group for that time, and that's it. Because social media lives, that post stays up, right? And so for who it might have been for initially is now spreading to people who it's not for because it's not live. But I think people can sometimes take the platforms like it's a church context, and this keeps going. Like the question of like how will this stuff age is something that our generations are gonna have to wrestle with. Like, what does this look like in 5 months? Yeah.
We are at the aging process about, because we see everything like, oh, that didn't age well.
Okay.
We're doing that now.
Yeah.
So
Or that person did not age well. Like, we're just talking about in context, like a very popular pastor that everybody was really into a couple years ago. It was like, we was all watching it. And then now it's like, I don't know. Yeah. It's a little dicey.
it's like, whoa.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, yeah.
You don't do that. But I think that's so good. And I would say, like, there was one time I heard that, like, as society, we reinvent ourselves all the time. Like, just think about, we are literally changing so rapidly, but churches change at a trajectory that's far less than how society actually changes. Like, if society reinvents itself in 5 to 10 years, churches take 20 to 35 years in terms of actually like changing. Do y'all think that the church of today meets the needs of like young adults like y'all? Does it meet your needs today? Does it meet the needs of your friends today as is?
I think there have been times the church has met my needs as a young adult. Does it meet it consistently? I cannot say that.
I agree.
I cannot say that. And it depends on your church. I have seen some very thriving like young adult programs at other churches and stuff, but just for the churches I've been in, it has not met my needs consistently. Or it met my need for a point and I've grown and it's like, okay, now I'm in a different season. So can you help me like navigate in this season? Where I was at like 18 to 21 or 22 is not where I am now at the 26 range. And I don't know if you can meet that yet, where I am now. So yeah.
Is she looking at you, Mike?
Oh, you looking at me?
Oh, I'll go after you because mine might take us to the left.
Well, no, I feel like a lot of people just are stuck in their ways, I guess. And some of it is on purpose, or some of this is like unknowingly. I just think that I guess the elders or older people in the church should be a little bit more open to hearing what the younger people got to say. But this also goes into, I guess, our community, because it's kind of like you're stay in the child's place.
Mhm.
So I guess when they know you from being smaller, they're gonna always see you as that. So
Forever. Millennials guys have kids, big kids, big kids. They're not the young people of the church anymore.
So it's hard to kind of break out. It's either you break out of that shell, speak up, and risk of being pushed out. So,
I love that point because I was going to kind of take it that way, but I didn't want to kind of
let's go.
take it too crazy. So
Let's do it.
I think something that has to be said is, and I can only speak to Black church context because that's where I've primarily been in my personal life. I grew up in kind of a dual kind of situation where I was raised in Black church, but I went to school, and so we had a lot of kind of white church CCM influence, right? So there were some kind of notes that I could understand from both, but like fully indoctrinated in Black church. I think is worth acknowledging that Black church in the United States specifically, what I personally believe has really kind of challenged even the question of if young adults' needs are being met or not, so there's layers to it, right? So there's one layer of like, formerly, historically, the Black church was a place of power, influence, and it was a place of institutional trust for Black people in the United States, right? Slavery displaced us. We were enslaved people taken from Africa. We came to the U.S. Mind you, I'll say this and go on. Christianity is not a white person's religion, but that's another conversation for another day. But the way that it expressed itself in the United States for Black people created a space where church was safe, right? So for people who are degraded and who are, basically told that they're nothing, right? Now you have a place of power, you have a place of influence, you get to call the shots, you get to claim your time, you get to whatever. So you built these pillars of influence because you were trying to reclaim what was taken from you, right? But then when you throw patriarchy and power and institutions all in the thing, now you've created nobody can take my power. And so you have people overstaying in positions that they should have left, right? Because they want to stay there because that affirmed them at a time. You have people, not letting young people do things or not letting, youth, young adults do things that the church needs, because what does it say about what I'm doing or what I have or what I don't have? And so what has happened is young adults do not have institutional trust in the church anymore because there's more things out there, whatever. We can argue another day about why that is, but because maybe we can attribute it to the advancements of Black people, our end all be all is not church anymore. So we're not fighting with old people over positions. I'm just going to leave. Right? Like, I'm not doing this with you. Like, you care more about this than I do in this way. And so I'm not going to stay around for that. But what it has caused is that it's caused that some churches, some Black churches, have not recognized the needs of young people because they're holding on to these historical ties to this affirmed me, this empowered me. And I think that can kind of have us fall through the cracks a little bit. That's the most succinct way I can say that. But
Well said.
Well said.
I know that's right.
Right.
But like, we have to acknowledge those layers, right? Because like, where does it come from? Because white churches have different struggles, but sometimes like the power thing is not necessarily their struggle in that way, or the meeting needs thing is not necessarily their struggle. What does it mean for Black churches to be able to meet the needs of young adults when they have not budgeted for young adults, right? It wasn't a keep a child in a child's place, right? It's those kinds of idioms and ideals that at once was probably trying to keep us safe, but now it's harming us, right? Or you didn't have the resources to build for young adults because Black banks didn't trust Black churches, right? Like, there's a lot of historical stuff that contribute to it, but I think we need to get over it. Like, you know what I mean? It's 2023. Yeah, okay. We can acknowledge it, but we need to move forward. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Do the work. Like,
Do the
Yeah,
work. Do
literally.
the work.
Mhm.
We're here now. You can't be a CEO and still monopolizing the church and don't think that like those attributes can fit there. Like, there's no way that you can achieve that level of success secularly, if you will, but like the church doesn't move with that. Like, that doesn't compute. Yeah.
Literally.
Can I add to that I don't think it started when we were young adults. I think it started when we were youth still.
Oh yeah.
It's louder as young adults because we make the decisions now about whether we go to church, whether we participate in, or what we want to do in the church. And so now we feel it more. But I know as a youth, like, I was feeling that and just like, oh, sister so-and-so or brother so-and-so is always complaining about the youth. But like, I don't never see you in youth church volunteering with us. Like, you've never been on no trips with us. You've never taught a Bible study with us. Like, you don't pass us in the hallway or church like, hey, how you doing today, LeBert? Like, how's school going? Anything like that. You just be complaining about us all the time, but then not investing in us. So now that I'm a young adult, I feel it more because it's like, okay, it's not my parents protecting me no more. I'm making a decision. It's like, oh, y'all been doing this junk for like forever, but now I just feel it more because it's my decision.
Yeah.
So then you're asking where young adults are in church, but this is a generation of youth that you didn't care about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Or if they wanted to stay around, do you have the resources that not only attract them, but that allow them to lead and execute at their level in their way?
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
I would ask y'all, and I'm really because I know background, like, what makes you want to go?
Come on, go.
Okay.
Like, what makes when you walk in the church, you're like, oh, this church is lit.
That's a
What
good question.
makes it?
Inviting.
LED light.
Oh my.
I cannot.
Oh.
That makes me want to go home.
Yeah, I don't want to.
No, because
I
I've
do,
been
but-
to a church that was like that. It was very dark, very smoky. It looked like I felt like I was at a concert, and no. But I think it's the people. To be honest, just the people there that are inviting for me personally. And those that are very welcoming and they see you every Sunday. It's like, oh my God, like, how are you doing? Like, they talk to you, and it's not just like, you're not just a number, you are a member. So for me, it is the people.
Yes.
I want to hear your
You-
thoughts.
yeah,
now.
You're breathing.
No, I agree. I totally agree. I was just also thinking about the actual content. Like, what are we putting across the pulpit?
Mm-hmm.
I know that what works for Gen X and like boomer generation doesn't really work for millennial and Gen Z, in the sense that, like, we live in a totally different world. And so, quite frankly, like, I don't want to hear things that don't connect to my life. If I can't use this Monday through Saturday, you can keep it in the most respectful way, you know? And so just really looking for that life application, I think, is what can really pull. And I think I've had a lot to think about while y'all were talking. And so I just feel like when we talk about the people that are in power, I feel like they don't really think about who they are serving. Perhaps because they don't see it as service. But I just feel like we don't pay attention to
Ding.
Yeah.
but we don't pay attention to the needs of our people. We focus on what feeds us. Like, they focus on what feeds themselves instead of what's feeding others. And I just feel like if we would just sit back and listen, like, just listen to your people, Doc. Like, you will hear what is necessary. We will hear that, okay, we need to work on our people. Okay, who do we have in hospitality? Who do we have greeting the doors? She don't smile, put her in the
That
back.
usher board.
Like, there are some real, like,
Talk, Sadie.
That usher board.
there are
The
some
first
real
person I'm seeing when I walk in here.
Please be nice. Y'all a little intimidating.
like, why are you frowning? Handing me an offering envelope? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of like multifaceted things that really just starts at listening to your people and not pushing your own agenda.
In order to do that, you have to take away ego. And it's kind of so much gatekeeping inside the church. Wild. So I agree.
We need pastors to heal.
Ooh, girl, let me turn around.
Talk now.
My goodness.
No, but we have a lot of broken people in leadership, and they just bleed onto their congregants as opposed to going to get healed.
It's all in the very things that have them to keep the position is the very reason that they're broken. Like, it's all the same conversation, because there's no way that you can get to the roots of what's really going on with you, and you don't need to go sit down to rest, if not to let your position.
Oh, but we can't tell them that though, because God forbid you say that.
No.
We say that.
Little boy, sit down.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, he needs prayer. Yeah, that's what they'll say. Yeah.
Therapy and Jesus.
And
Jesus.
because we're stopping God's ability to be at work in people He's gifted if we don't go. If I've gifted you to be a therapist and you're not able to operate in your gift because I won't go, not only am I causing casualties on other people, but like, you're not able to operate. You're bros.
And people aren't afraid of God enough for me. Like, we are so focused on the New Testament Jesus, but we also have the Old
That
Testament.
OT was serious.
And like, I don't know, but if I were you, I would be afraid of stopping people's gifts.
Yeah,
Like, you don't think God a little mad about that?
Yeah.
Y'all always been thought. Like, this
Yeah.
always been thought everywhere.
It
If you
is.
look back.
It is. Because quenching the spirit is not just about stopping the praise break.
It's
Like,
not.
are you not quenching the spirit when people can't operate? Like, I don't,
Wow.
it's the same thing.
And I was
Same
actually going to say that that's what goes also into making a good church, to the point, like, allowing room for all types of gifts, right? So not getting so stuck in like a routine of, this is praise and worship, this is the offering time, this is altar call, and then it's like, sometimes like it changes. And I say that as somebody who's been in like I guess a few ministries growing up that were controversial when they first came. Like, so I know miming was a big thing growing up for me, and being in it. And some people felt very demonic about it. It's like, miming, what you about to do? Like, what are you calling on? And it's literally like clowning in the pulpit, or even to that point. Like, when we first started miming too, there were some churches who would not let us in the pulpit. Like, no, y'all gonna mime on the floor right here in front of the pulpit. Like, yeah, 100%.
So
And
that's
think
what
about
that's
how that
about when they're in
impacts
the
you.
front? They don't
Like,
No, for real, you
like
can't.
the plate.
If you don't have if you don't have, depending on what ministry you are part of, or if you don't have like the right ministerial credentials, you cannot step in the pulpit.
I got snatched up, y'all, when I was walking through. I was just trying to get to the other side of the choir stand. A lady came up to me and she said, "You cannot do that." I should have been like, "You want to carry me?"
Caveat. Let's ding on that. Who said? A lady said you can't do that.
Yeah.
Because the patriarchy upholds this, like it created this, but who upholds it? The women do it.
Read the Bible. That's the thing. Like, read the Bible. If you can't read it all in 1 year, they be having that 365. Because a lot of what we know is in the sense of like, my grandmama, Miss Ernestine, told my mama that you cannot do that in the church. And now she done told me and my friends, and we all scared to chew gum in the pew.
but see, that bothers me because you experienced that and you know how it made you feel. And now you choose to make others feel that way when you know it wasn't a positive emotion. So, like, why are we continuing these cycles just because you felt
That's what's been
disrespected?
done. Yeah.
I gotta be
Yeah.
disrespectful.
And we have to interrogate what's under some of these things because some of this is internalized whiteness, right? So back to the conversation about like the black church in
Jill.
proximity to West Church, because y'all, it's all one thing and it will crumble. If you take one Jenga piece out, the whole thing is going down.
It will.
It's literally going down, which is why we keep the towers of power because my stuff has to go with it as a casualty, right? But case in point, take your hat off in church, right? If you actually look at the history of that, that was back in the Western days that you had to take your hat off inside so that they can make sure you didn't have a gun under it. But we took it as holy. So now Black people internalize that, right? Trying to make sense of our identity in the West, which we understand, right? But you internalize that. And now we say, don't have your hat on in church. That's disrespectful to God. Well, actually in the Bible, they covered their heads as reverence. Like we got to interrogate where the stuff comes from.
There we go.
And then really have the conversations because it's all in the same thing. Don't chew the gum. Don't walk across the pulpit. Well, the wretchedness in the pulpit is enough for me. Like I can't walk. Like
Jillian.
you just have to ask the questions. You have to ask the question. And I'm not saying every pulpit because I humbly, Lord Jesus, help me try to stand in the pulpit. But overall, we get what we're saying, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
We get it.
Okay. I hope.
100%.
Yeah.
That's why
Holy
we are
Spirit.
in disarray.
Why are we in disarray?
Right. Come on.
Why are we in disarray?
Because she's 100% correct.
Oh, yeah.
We know that
Yeah.
for a fact.
Yeah.
We are in agreement.
Yes.
Selah.
How do you guys like find community? Like, because I think I am not an advocate that you can't have non-Christian friends, right? Like, to me, that does not make sense. God did not only surround him, or Jesus did not only surround himself with people who were like him, right? Like, and also if you don't go to church every day or every Sunday, you don't want me to be friends with this person. Like, there was recently an Instagram post that's like, if you saying God is taking you somewhere and you gotta go by yourself, why would you want to be there by yourself? Like, why do you want to be on top of the mountain alone? Always. Like, well, how do y'all really like focus on like your community and like strengthening like the folks that you have around you in like your walk, not only as just like a person, but your walk with God too?
I don't know. I feel like that's been a struggle for me. Like, vulnerability moment. I don't think I have Christian community. I have, like, I'm the Christian in my community, but I don't have Christian community. And so,
Yeah.
And so, like, I think it comes with a lot of responsibility and it takes an extra level of strength because you have to, you're your only accountability partner, you know? And so I think, like, you don't have anybody to lean on because you being leaned on. So I don't know. I think that that's something that would be beneficial, like personally in my life, to have community that's also Christian and like we can walk this thing out together authentically. But yeah.
I think my community has been more so focused on people like respecting my values and beliefs, and me doing the same for them, right? So, like I have a mentee who's Muslim, and so, but he has the utmost respect for me and my faith because of how he says he sees me walk with God, and because that and how I see him walk, I have the utmost respect for him. and his faith as well. So even like when Ramadan's coming, it's just like, hey man, praying for you as y'all get ready for Ramadan and you're going through this fasting and stuff and giving you strength or whatever. And he does the same for me a lot around Lent and things of that nature. I think also like sometimes like to our point, it be so many, what's the nicest way to put this? There are so many people in the church who be putting on sometimes instead of actually doing the work. That I have found myself in strong relationship with people who may not go to church every Sunday or as we call them, the CME Christians, yeah, or whatever. So for me, it's I place more on like values and stuff like, do you accept accountability as we talked about earlier? Like, can you push me? Like, can we support each other? And like, it got to be reciprocal because it's a lot to carry that just on your own in a friendship. Because then it's almost gonna feel like having children around you, like, and not in a rude way, but it's like, but it's like I'm doing all the rearing, I'm the guiding and everything. It's like
the rearing.
yeah, it's like I'm tired at this point.
Prayers reach heaven.
Yeah, you too. If you don't pick up that little mustard seed, that's all you need for real. So it for me is more so on like I look at the person values more than anything.
Yeah.
Before just like you love God, you go to church, like no, it's really about your values for real. So it is harder as an adult though. I will say like growing up as a kid is like you had school, you had church, you had all these different places to do it. As an adult, you have to be very more intentional. About the community that you build. And you have to be more discerning, I would say too, as an adult too, because okay, just because we work together 5 days a week, 8 hours, like I can only hang out with you at work though, because I see you.
Yeah, or if we're out together and I'm drinking, like
Oh,
I don't
my
make it to church the
God.
next day.
Yeah.
I
It's
will
okay.
get up in the
Yeah.
morning and
Yeah.
then
It's
from
okay.
there, I will make it to brunch for bottomless. Or
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
consider that there's balance.
Balance.
No, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Exactly.
And I don't need you sitting by me drinking my bottomless talking about, oh, not Jesus. No. Now this is the last time you see me drink bottomless.
I gotta switch where I reach the bottom because
Well,
you don't understand that.
Yeah,
You do
right.
not get that I can reach the bottom. Resistance, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, this is my last question for the day. You guys have been great. What makes being a Christian lit? Like, what's your favorite part? Like, what makes God your homeboy or homegirl?
Sorry.
that
Let's
blessed
put it
you.
out there.
That blessed you.
That's a question.
I
Yeah,
think
but just off the cuff, just go for it.
no, I think the fact that like it's a different level of peace. Because quite frankly, I don't know how people who don't have faith live life, like more power to you. But like when life gets crazy, because it's gonna, I like the fact that I can be like, God's got it. Like, and like really feel that. What do you do? Like your life is crumbling and you say,
Yeah.
this is great. What happens? And so I like the fact that I can literally lean on that understanding of like, okay, this looks a little cuckoo, but like you got it, giving it to you, and that's it. Like I don't know who they give it to. God bless, but maybe not. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that one. The peace.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's way better over here than people make it seem. Like it's way better. Some people use umbrellas for rain, some people use it for sun, but like you're covered either way. So like
Yeah.
guys,
She about to have a stand up.
no, I'm just saying like
On
it's
the
really
beach.
hard to be out there without covering. To Lex's point, like respect to those who make it, shout out, but like
Yeah.
I need something to hold me because I'm a little whimsical, you know what I'm saying? So it's not as bad as it seems. To the like holy whole conversation, like it's really not. We don't sit and read our Bibles for 50 years and like, just don't come out of our room. Like whatever the stigma is not.
It's not that.
It's not. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to
It
be.
doesn't have to.
You can do that if you want to do.
Yeah.
You won't find me doing it. Yeah.
Mhm.
We're not all the same type of Christian.
Not at all.
I
Yeah.
cannot shout. but I
That's
know
what-
people who can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know that tongue stuff.
Yeah.
That ain't my gift. Humana. I can't do
Humana.
that.
Time my boat.
What about a hunger?
Time my bro out. Time my bro out. I cannot do that.
Yeah.
And yet God shows up in all of it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's lit to me.
My little toe stomp is enough.
There we go. There we go.
For all the people who want variety and they don't want things to be the same all the time. They want to like switch it up or whatever. Like, God really can switch it up in a good way. Like,
Yeah.
just when you thought you knew, like, you really don't. And that's enough for me.
Also, what makes it lit is like when you don't have that big community, but then when you get around that community,
Yeah.
like the laughs, like it come deep.
Yeah.
'Cause y'all- it's like we laughing because we going through the same thing,
Yeah.
kind of, but it's like unspoken. We don't have to really speak on it too much. So
Automatically relate.
exactly,
Yeah.
literally.
Spirit,
Yeah.
no spirit.
Mhm.
I think for me, it's the fact that like legit, God is like that all-purpose friend. For me, so like the same money you spend, like, and no, for real, the same money you spend for your therapist to tell all your secrets that like nobody ever tell and won't judge you for, like that's God. The same way, like when we go on the bottomless, God is there right beside me. When I'm in my room going through it or whatever, and I'm in a dark moment, like God is right there beside me. Or when like I'm in the wrong because I wasn't right for cussing that person out or for whatever I said to them. But I handled it
handle it
wrong.
the best.
Yeah, but I handled it best. Like he's still there with me. He's still like, you messed up, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but like the love is unwavering. Like he really is an all-purpose friend, and so I bang with that because like no matter what I do in this life or good or bad, like he still be like, I love you, right? Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I still got you right.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's that freedom and that safety of forgiveness. So like you're free to like be you and do you, and like you're good. Like I will be forgiven. I really messed that up. All will be forgiven. So it's just like that is for me.
You know what?
Oh,
Sorry. What you
yeah.
said just reminded me. I think it's lit because you get here what you don't get in the world. Like you
Mhm.
don't get forgiveness there.
Yeah, people are very unforgiving.
Don't
Yeah,
get
very-
that dependability
yeah, so
there,
quick.
but you get it here.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I think that's what makes it lit. Is because like okay, I don't have to look
Yeah.
there because I got it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think some of the mystery of God scares people. And it is scary. Let's be for real. To me, the mystery of God, I'd be
Yeah.
shook. Okay.
Mhm.
But like everything has mystery, you know what I mean? So let's choose like safe mystery. Yeah. To me at least. Everybody want mystery until like God is involved. You know what I mean? Like that'll make now God has to have all the answers. Like make that make
Yeah.
sense. So
And then
that's
it's
pretty
almost
lit.
like they don't want you to ask questions. And it's like,
Mhm.
but I have them.
But I have them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Answer them.
Yeah.
And
Or God chooses not to, but like, do I just fall out because I didn't get my way? Like, how does that like work?
yeah,
Yeah. So it's like,
God is lit, and you guys did an awesome job, and that is
Thank
a
you.
wrap.
yay.